The photo arrived at 11:47 p.m., glowing on my phone like a flare shot into a dark sky. And in that instant, my life split cleanly into before and after. I had just finished washing the last mug in my small Chicago apartment when the notification buzzed. My name lit up beneath the company logo and my stomach tightened with the strange certainty that something irreversible had begun. The image wasn't graphic, but it was unmistakably personal, a polished mirror selfie meant for someone else, paired with a smug caption that suggested opportunity lost and desire flaunted. It carried the weight of power, temptation, and a dare. I stared at it too long enough to feel the old ache of being invisible and the dangerous thrill of being seen at the same time. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet courage it takes to do the right thing when it costs you everything, take a moment right now to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this live because people like you keep them alive. My name is Nathan Caldwell, and until that night I was a mid-level analyst at a fast-rising tech firm headquartered along the river, a place of glass walls and ambition where the elevators hummed like promises. Our CEO, Victoria Harper, was a legend in that building, a woman who could command a room with a glance and move markets with a sentence. I admired her the way one admires a storm from a safe distance. I worked late, asked smart questions, and kept my head down, hoping diligence would one day feel like belonging. The city outside my window was loud and confident. Inside my chest, I was quieter, careful, still recovering from a divorce that had hollowed me out and taught me the cost of misreading signals. The photo didn't belong to me, and I knew that immediately. It was meant for someone who had access to her private world, someone she could tease without consequence. I could have ignored it. I could have pretended it never happened and gone to sleep. But the caption stung in a way I couldn't shake, because it framed me as a missed prize, a person measured by what he failed to claim. My reply, typed with shaking thumbs, wasn't clever or cruel. It was honest, restrained, and foolishly respectful. I wrote that the image had been sent to the wrong person, that it made me uncomfortable, and that I hoped she would be more careful with power and privacy. I hit send, set the phone down, and sat in the quiet, listening to my own breath until morning. The next day at work, the air felt different, like the building had learned my secret. Meetings ended abruptly when I entered. Emails went unanswered. By noon, HR asked me to step into a room with frosted glass. They spoke in rehearsed tones about professionalism and boundaries, about how my response had been interpreted as insubordinate, about the company's need to protect its leadership. I was terminated by 2 o'clock, escorted past the desks where I had built my sense of worth, line by line, past the river that kept flowing as if nothing had happened. The box in my hands was lighter than I expected. My chest felt heavier. Unemployment is a strange season. Days stretch, and shame sneaks into ordinary moments. I avoided the cafe where I used to brainstorm. Avoided friends who asked how work was going. Avoided the mirror when I couldn't answer my own questions. My savings thinned. Rejection emails piled up. Late at night, I replayed the choice, wondering if silence would have saved me, wondering when integrity became a liability. I remembered my father's voice from our small Ohio home, telling me that character is what you do when no one is watching, and wondered if he would still say that knowing the bill it came with. Change began quietly, the way it often does, through an unexpected door. A former colleague named Samuel Reyes reached out, not with pity, but with purpose. He had left the firm months earlier to start a nonprofit focused on ethical tech practices, helping companies build accountability into their culture. He had heard about my firing through the rumor mill and wanted to hear my side, not to gossip, but to understand. I told him everything, without embellishment. He listened the way people listen when they intend to remember. A week later, he offered me contract work, modest pay, meaningful hours. I said yes with a gratitude that surprised me. Working with Samuel shifted my perspective. We interviewed employees who had been silenced, leaders who wanted to do better but didn't know how, boards afraid of transparency because they mistook it for weakness. I learned that my experience wasn't unique, it was just rarely named. We built workshops and toolkits, spoke at conferences in cities like Denver and Raleigh, and watched small changes ripple outward. Purpose doesn't erase pain, but it gives it a place to go. Months passed. One afternoon in early spring, my phone buzzed again. This time it was an email forwarded from a journalist investigating executive misconduct across the industry. They wanted to verify details to confirm patterns. I provided documentation, careful and factual. I wasn't seeking revenge, I wanted accuracy. The story broke weeks later, measured and devastating, and the company announced an internal review. I felt no triumph, only a sober relief that truth had found a microphone. I didn't expect to hear from Victoria Harper again, but I did. Her message was brief, stripped of bravado, acknowledging the harm, the imbalance, the fear that drove her choices. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She thanked me for drawing a line she had been avoiding. I read it twice and closed the laptop, aware that closure isn't the same as healing, but it's a start. Opportunity returned in a different form than I imagined. A mid-sized firm in Minneapolis, led by a CEO named Margaret Collins who spoke openly about mistakes and learning, offered me a role shaping compliance with empathy. The interview focused less on my skills and more on my compass. I moved north, found an apartment with sunlight and plants, and began again. Work felt steadier when it aligned with my values. I slept better. I called my parents more. I laughed without checking the room. As the year turned, Samuel's nonprofit grew. We launched a scholarship in my name for professionals who chose integrity over expedience and paid a price for it. Watching recipients accept it, seeing their relief and resolve, stitched something back together inside me. The photo that once felt like a curse became a turning point I could finally name without flinching. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something simple and sincere. If you've ever been punished for doing the right thing, if you've ever doubted yourself because power tried to rewrite your truth, comment below with a single word that describes how you kept going. Your words might be the lifeline someone else needs tonight. Near the end of every hard chapter, there's a moment when you realize you're standing on new ground. Mine came on a quiet Sunday morning, coffee cooling on the windowsill, the city waking slowly beneath me. I understood then that getting fired didn't define me, choosing honesty did. And honesty, when practiced long enough, becomes a kind of home. If this story touched your heart, if it stirred something tender or brave inside you, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support tells the algorithm that stories about decency still matter, and it tells the people who live them that they were not alone.